Welcome to the Outnumbered podcast with Joey and Alleigh, where we talk about our life. We talk about kids, family, jobs, navigating all of that stuff. And this is episode 1, so we're really excited, and our heart is to share about our life and what we've learned and what it's like having kids and being married and dating in high school. And we're going to talk about all of that in each episode. But today we're excited to talk about
how we got from high school sweethearts to outnumbered by our 3 crazy boys.
That's right. So we're going to talk about our story today, dating in high school all the way up to where we currently are, outnumbered by 3 kids.
Yep.
And the ways we've seen God move along the way. We met when we were in high school.
We did.
Do you remember how we met?
Yes. I think it was a soccer game, pretty positive. A high school soccer game. And there was like a big hill.
Yep.
Where all the kids sat.
Yep.
Next to the bleachers. I think I was there with some of my friends, and you were friends with their sibling. And so...
Yeah, I remember like we were sitting in a line, and you were on one end,
yes.
and I was on the other end.
Yes, like
and I was sitting
ends.
next to my friend, and then she was sitting next to her sisters, and you were on the other side, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And you were eating cowtails, and everyone else was like, "That's disgusting." And
just crazy. It's a very underrated candy. Cowtails.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you just can't find it very many places.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe you could at one time.
But it was my favorite candy.
But why did you like them?
I had a friend who, like in elementary school, who showed them to me. You get them at like the dollar store.
I think my mom used to buy them.
It's not something I would eat now, but they were very
Probably
good.
Not, but they are good.
So I remember I was trying to share them with my friend sitting next to me, and she didn't want any.
Yeah, everyone was like, "Those are nasty," but I don't think they even gave them a chance.
Yes, but then I remember this. Is how I remember. I was like, "Anybody want cowtails?" And they were like, "No."
Yeah.
She was very picky to begin with, and then I remember seeing your head poke down like the
From
line,
the end of the line,
and you were like, "I like cowtails," and I don't remember if I had already thought that you were cute. I don't know, but I was like, "Well, come down and share with me." So then you came down to my side of the
yes, and we shared cowtails.
And we shared cowtails
during the soccer game. Yeah. Yep.
And then we were friends after that. I was a junior in high school. You were a freshman in high school.
Yes.
And we went to this small Christian high school where everybody knew everybody. And I played soccer with your brother.
True. My dad drove you there.
Yep.
You carpooled.
You knew my brother.
Yes, and we did cup sacking together.
In elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5th and 6th grade, yeah.
My mom.
Yeah, she always says that's
the first time she met you.
The first memory she has of me.
Was you cup stacking in 5th grade.
Your mom was like a helper or whatever.
Tell us about cup stacking, since you were like a pro at cup stacking.
Yeah, no, I wasn't a pro.
But you were on like the team. Like
I was
the
on the
school
team,
had a
but you
cup
didn't have to like
team.
try out or anything.
Oh.
You just
I wasn't
it was
on the
like
team.
the
You
PE
guys were on the
teacher
team.
like ran it, I think, and so you just like joined it if you wanted to.
I remember my brother being better at it than me.
Yeah, my brother was better at it.
Mad
also.
about that.
My brother has a medal.
But is it even a thing anymore?
I don't think so.
It was popular.
I mean, it was like in Target.
You would have 12 cups, and you would try to stack them and unstack them as fast as you could.
Yeah,
and it had
like
these
a little
fancy mats, and you would time yourself.
The mat, and then the timer clipped onto the mat, so you'd put your hands there, and as soon as it was ready, you did it.
So funny. And I remember going up, there was this huge tournament in Denver. And at, I think the Denver
that
Coliseum.
was like the international tournament. There were people there from other countries.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Like other countries. They like came from other countries.
That's crazy.
I think the people that started it, their daughter was like the world record holder for a long time.
Were they from here or something?
They were from somewhere in the U.S., but they were like
but yeah, you're right,
teams from like China, like ridiculous.
Tournament was in Denver.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother got a medal, but
wow,
I did not.
You never got a medal?
No.
Okay. So that's when you met my mom, apparently. Do you remember my mom from that?
No, I don't know.
But you're on the team with my brother.
Yeah.
Anyways,
your brother and I always feel like we've always had that in common, like the quirkier
cup stacking, being good at weird things.
Yeah,
that's true. He was into cup stacking and yo-yoing.
Yeah,
this
but
isn't
like
about
a
him.
cool yo-yo.
Anyways,
anyway.
yeah. So then in high school, so junior, freshman year, we were friends for a year.
Yeah.
I definitely had a huge crush on you. Was that when we used to eat
gummy bears in the hallway?
No, that was later.
I thought that was when we were friends.
I don't know.
I'm pretty positive.
Okay. But I had a huge crush on you, but I thought it was weird that you were only a freshman.
Yeah.
So I didn't do
You always
anything.
say that. I don't know why that's weird.
I don't know. Yeah, it felt weird because, like, again, your brother was my age. My brother was your age. Everybody knew everybody. You were just this cute little freshman, and I thought it was weird because I was old.
True. But I also didn't know that I liked you then. I liked being around you, and I liked talking to you, but I didn't process that I liked you.
Gotcha. Until when?
Until a camp friend of yours told a school friend of mine who went to camp with him and you.
He wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah. He told her that you told him that you liked me. So she told me that.
Man.
And then that made me realize that I think I liked you too.
So I guess he did me a favor
There
by
you go.
blabbing his mouth.
Well, I would never have said anything. Well, that's not true. If I had come to that realization, I am not one to just sit around and do nothing.
So that was summer of after we've been friends for a year. And then we started back in the fall. I was a senior. Now you were a sophomore. And I remember the first day of school going to lunch with you and a mutual friend.
Yeah.
And
my mom drove us to Chipotle.
Your mom drove us?
Yeah,
I don't
for
remember
sure.
that part.
She did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
I think we all squeezed in like her back seat. There were like too many of us.
It was us and one other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, probably one of my brothers.
The girl who said she didn't like cowtails.
True.
And then you came over. Yeah, same person. So then, but I remember after that lunch thinking, like, okay, I definitely like you and wanted to do something about it. And so then we started talking more. That my senior year, I asked you to homecoming.
Yeah.
Do you remember how I asked you to homecoming?
Yes. Do you?
Yeah, I used cowtails, and I think I had a bunch of my friends, our friends, like give you a cowtail with a word attached to it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then it spelled out, will you go to homecoming?
I feel like maybe the first one I was like, I don't know what this is. And well,
but you had a friend tell you.
I did know what this was because someone told me that you were doing that.
Yeah. Everybody
Someone
talks.
told me.
No secrets in high school, especially our high school.
I think it was like supposed to be like a heads up just in case I wanted to try to avoid that.
Yeah. So then didn't we like double date homecoming with my brother and his date?
Yeah.
Didn't I drive all, because you guys were all sophomores
Probably.
and I was a senior and I drove all of us to homecoming?
Yeah.
Wow, that was cool.
Yeah, I didn't even get my license till I was like 17 plus.
Who was driving.
That's you drove me everywhere.
True. So we went to homecoming and then basically was dating after that, kind of. But you were.
But not officially.
Yeah, I talked to your dad. He wanted you to be 16 before we were officially dating. But
so
they were
didn't go on dates.
Didn't go on dates, yeah. They were still cool with us hanging out.
Yeah.
And so we did quite a bit. But then for your 16th birthday, we did our official first date.
Yeah. I think we went to P.F. Chang's.
No.
No?
We went to that Italian restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, are you sure?
I think so.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
I thought we went to that Italian restaurant in
so long ago.
Old Colorado City and we got ice cream after. It could have been P.F. Chang's.
I don't know. I thought P.F. Chang's.
No.
Oh, no, that's what it was.
I took you to P.F. Chang's for Christmas
you got, like,
that year, and then I got
permission.
special permission from your dad to take you out to
Yes.
P.F. Chang's because we weren't dating.
We weren't dating, yes. But we also count our 5 years from homecoming.
Yes.
So we weren't dating, but we were dating.
So it was the Italian restaurant was the official first date. And then, I made it through that school year. I graduated. I joined the military.
Yeah.
The following fall, I left for basic training. So we had been dating for a year, and then I left for 4 months.
Yeah.
Which was hard.
That was interesting, yes.
So you were a junior in high school. Yep. I think you were doing school online that year.
I was, and playing basketball, which was not really my thing necessarily. Then I tore my ACL.
Tore everything.
Yeah. It was a good time. And then...
While I was gone. But hold on. So I went to basic training, which is not like your normal long-distance relationship. It's
right. It was like extreme. A 1902 long-distance relationship.
1902. Yeah. Well, they didn't even have phones back then.
True. Just
so I
letters.
got one 15-minute phone call a week.
Yeah.
My mom got 10 of those minutes, and then I would quickly hang up and call you.
True, which really, one of us probably got gypped because it takes time to then hang up and then call.
I got fat. I try to use every minute.
I remember missing it a few times.
I remember that so vividly. We would sit, it was every Sunday, and what they call them? The instructors, people who yelled at you, they had all of our phones in like a big gallon Ziploc, and they had our name taped to it or something, and we'd sit there in like next to our beds, and they would hand us our phone.
Yeah.
And just stand there while we're all like calling everybody in. That was like the best part of the week. And we had grilled cheese for lunch every Sunday. It was grilled cheese Sunday, and it was always a great day because it signified that you were another week ahead, because you would always I'm in fourth week, I'm in fifth week, and so it was like you're another week ahead. You got to call home and you got grilled cheese. So we did that for 2 months, but we wrote a ton of letters to each other.
Yes.
That was the best
Lots
part.
of letters.
Or the other best part, other than the grilled cheese and phone call, was getting letters from you.
Yeah.
And some of them you put perfume on, which made the other dudes jealous because it smelled good.
I love it.
they were like, why didn't my girlfriend think of that? And stuff. Oh, it was fun. And yeah, so I still have all those letters.
Yep.
In somewhere in our closet.
Our
probably.
nicely organized closet.
Yep, somewhere. All those letters, that was great. Then I graduated.
Wait, I feel like you need to talk about like why were you at basic training?
Oh yeah, I decided to join the military part-time. So is the Air National Guard, and I joined, but I went through regular active duty basic training just like everybody else,
right?
And tech school, and then but then when I got home, I was part-time.
Yeah.
Because I was going to school and stuff. So.
And your dad was how many years?
He did 26 years in the military, but about half of that was in the Guard.
In the Guard, yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of your inspiration. But I remember being kind of annoyed. I did not come from a military family. Yeah. I remember being kind of annoyed that you like did that. I was like, why do you have to do that and leave?
And then how many times since then have you been so grateful that I did it?
It was massive because you get a VA loan, which is the only reason we bought our first house, really. So the only reason actually we were able to probably get married.
That's funny. I didn't realize that you were annoyed that.
I remember just being like, why?
Yeah.
But I just I didn't
understand all the benefits.
I didn't have a military family.
I probably didn't even either, but I don't know. I think I appreciated growing up with my dad being military and wanted to have some of those benefits. Our baby's making noise in the corner. So then after the 2 months, so you got to drive out to Texas with my family. And visit me. Yeah,
I actually did a lot of things with your family while you were gone.
Really?
Yeah, like I remember going over. Well,
I was gone for all the holidays. I was gone for Thanksgiving
and
Christmas.
6?
My sister was probably 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a lot of things together. I remember. I'm pretty sure I babysat her multiple times.
I think you did Christmas cookies with my family and stuff because I was gone for
stuff
Christmas.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got to drive out with my family.
Yep.
Was that weird? Since we were just like dating and you're in a car.
No, I don't really remember the drive. But we like stayed in a hotel in between. I feel like that part was kind of weird, just like staying in a hotel with people I knew them enough, I guess, but like they're not my family, so there's like a level of comfort.
So we got to see you guys for it was like 2 days.
Yeah.
And then you drove back. I went to Mississippi for the rest of my training, and that was another 2 months. But that was a little easier because I at least had my phone.
Yeah.
In the afternoons.
True.
And evenings.
It was just like you were going to school elsewhere.
And I don't think. Did we still write letters? Probably not.
No. We write letters.
Yeah. So we would text and call again and stuff, and that was easier.
You just had like classes at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I got home, but then I was still gone because then I was working full time for the military for a while.
Yeah.
Through that summer.
Which and then all of that is like the reason we got married.
Because of that money I had saved up from all that. Yeah, true. So I got home. I was gone for about 4 months. But I was in Denver a lot, working, staying in a hotel and stuff. And then I started college in the fall. So you were a senior at that point.
Yeah.
And I was a freshman in college.
Yep.
Because I had that year off. And then we broke up. You dumped me.
Was that the beginning of my senior year? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
You dumped me.
Yeah, well, you dumped me.
No.
You dumped you for me.
That sounds good. I made you do it because you were like,
I'm not good at closure.
I could tell something was off. I could tell you didn't want it. I don't know. So I just said like, hey, you want to, I don't remember what I said, but I kind of forced your hand. But it was you.
I definitely wanted to do it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. But
yeah,
then,
so why did you dump me?
Well, I feel like you being gone, I got into like this rhythm of like, one, like never texting anybody, which we used to text all the time because high school, I guess.
Yeah.
So I got into this rhythm of like things that I do, and I don't know, got into these, I think I redid a lot of furniture, just stuff like that. I wasn't attached to my phone at all.
Became
so then you would be like
woman.
waiting for me to like text you back, and I was trying to do my own thing.
Yeah. No, that's
and
a good way.
You hadn't even started school yet, so you were just like waiting around for me, I felt like, at that point.
Yeah. I think before I left, it was a high school. We hung out all the time. Our parents lived really
2
close.
2 minutes, 3 maybe, with the light red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the light. So we would hang out a lot, text a lot, and then suddenly I was gone.
Yeah.
And I was busy, obviously, but you learned to be more independent. And then I came home and probably expected the relationship to be the same way.
Yeah.
And you needed some space because I was suffocating you.
I guess I just got into like a groove of not having my phone and doing my own thing.
Breakup didn't last long.
No, it didn't.
Month maybe.
Yeah. I think, yeah, after a month, you said I texted you first, but.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, did we like text for a few days or like a week?
Yeah.
But then we like met up at Albertsons.
Yeah.
And sat on the curb.
Because it was halfway between our parents' house.
Yes. Which
Albertsons
it's not
parking lot,
Albertsons anymore, sadly.
It's a Safeway now. I still call it Albertsons, yeah.
But we sat on the curb. I think we did that for a while, like trying to figure out what was going on. And then
I remember thinking like, I didn't know that I wanted my parents to know we were hanging out.
I think that was what it was. So we met at Safeway and sat on the curb and whatever. And you had gotten a new haircut. I don't know what you just.
I think I was trying to make haircut, you jealous. So
but you like started. It's the same as it is now, I guess. But you started like styling it.
Well,
I don't know what influenced that.
So when we broke up, like initially, were you thinking that we would get back together? Were you thinking it was like over? What were?
I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't working.
Do you remember what my sister said?
Yes.
So my sister was like 6, and she was a big fan of yours, and we hung out with her a lot. And I think my mom told her that we had broken up, and she said, "That's okay. They'll get back together."
Yeah, she did say that. She was
like 6.
She was like, "No big deal. It's fine."
But I think that's definitely where my mind was at. I was like, she just needs some time to realize how awesome I was and miss me. I think
my mom even saw your mom somewhere and told her that.
Really?
Yeah.
So I was very confident, like, we'd get back together. Where were you at?
I don't know. I think I just was like, this isn't working. I need space or something. But then as soon as like it was done, then I feel like
ultimately it was a good thing.
Yeah, no, I feel like it was a good thing. I think it kind of made me realize like what my life would be like without you, which I didn't really know.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Empty.
You'd be fine. Yeah, and I think it was good because we had a chance to get back together and have a conversation like, hey, what do we want our relationship to look like moving forward?
Yeah.
And now that it had been 2 years and we could kind of sit down and say like, well, this is how it was in high school, but you were a senior, I was in college, like what's it going to look like now? And so we don't need to text all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
not healthy.
Yeah. We make some space. And so I think it kind of transitioned from a high school relationship to an adult relationship, even though we weren't really adults, but
well, you were.
It matured a little bit.
I was close-ish.
And so I think that was good. And that was funny. So your senior year, so then we get back together, we're dating. I'm going to college. Your senior prom was at my college.
Yeah.
I was
you
like
came.
So weird about it. Yeah. So I got to go to the college that I went to every day for a high school event with my high school girlfriend. But we went with a couple who was the same age gap. He was also in college. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that weird.
But I was able to show everybody where to go because I knew the campus very well.
True.
So
That's true.
Yeah. So that was funny.
Yep.
So then we dated for a couple more years and then got married. Yep. So, and then I think our goal was always, well, first we should say this, our goal always was marriage.
I mean, that was always my goal in life.
Even
was
when we
get
were
married,
like,
have kids,
not just starting hanging out, but pretty early on, I remember we would talk about marriage.
Yeah. Well, I think we both had the same goal, like in that, just in life, in that we wanted to get married and
so
have
when
kids.
When it comes to high school relationships, you know, everyone has opinion on high school relationships, and
ours is probably different than some.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it worked out, and I think it worked out because we had the same goal. Yeah. You know, and I think, you know, we talk to kids now who are dating in high school and want to get married, and you know, we're never. The statistic was always thrown in my face. I remember my, wrestling coach, everybody was like, hey, my coach was like, everybody break up. He was kind of kidding. He was like, everybody break up with your girlfriends. You can talk to them after the season. You're not going to get married anyways. Like, focus on wrestling. Our wedding. And then he married us. Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually funny.
I
do remember thinking you were going to break up with me multiple times during wrestling because you were just always so moody.
Oh, I wasn't eating. So I was cutting weight.
Because that's a normal wrestling
thing. Yeah, I was
thing.
grumpy all the time. That was early on in our relationship. But yeah, I feel like so our goal was always marriage. And so that's what I would tell kids. And we can do a whole episode on that. But I think if you're seeking the Lord and you're doing things the right way and that's your goal, and then I would say you have a much higher percentage than 1% of making it or whatever.
It's definitely like, what is your mindset going into it? That's probably the most important thing.
And so we were definitely on the same page. We knew we wanted to get married. We knew we wanted kids. You wanted a lot of kids back then.
Well, when I was like 7, I just
even
always
in
watched.
High school, you were talking about having a lot of kids.
Well, I don't know what a lot is. I mean, as like a young kid, I always watched Cheaper by the Dozen and Yours, Mine, and Ours. So my range was 12 to 18.
And then we had one, and we're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, well, that wasn't my range then.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted a bigger family. I just always, I had 4.
You were one of 4.
Growing up, I was
I'm
one
one
of 4.
3. Mm-hmm.
And people always would comment on how big our family was, and I never felt like it was big. So like the threshold to a big family to me like started after 4 kids.
And then we had a couple kids and realized.
Well, I had 1, and then I was like, I didn't realize it would be like that.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so what was I talking about? We were dating while I was in college.
Yes.
And our goal was marriage. That's what I was saying.
Obviously, I had to graduate high school first.
You had to graduate. Yes. That would be
it's
good.
important.
And then we, in our mind, we're like, well, let's wait till I graduate college.
Yeah.
Which would have been about 6 years
like our
of
practical
dating.
side. Sometimes we get stuck in this like practical, like, well, what would...
Which is good. It's good to be practical and think through money, but I think sometimes we need a little like smack in the head, like, hey... And that's what it kind of was. So I was a junior in college. We were thinking it's going to be 2 more years before we get married because I need to be graduated and have a full-time job. And I was hanging out kind of randomly with a friend from high school who is engaged. And they're around the same age as us, and they were getting married that next summer. And he was like, and I said something like, yeah, we're going to wait 2 more years, but we know we want to get married. And he said, that's stupid. You should get married now.
Yeah.
Or sooner. Yeah. And, but until he said that, we didn't even really consider that. Yeah. And so then we kind of were like thinking about it. And we're like, oh, I've got some money saved up from my time in the military. Like maybe we could make this work. And ultimately that was a great move for us. And I think we learned a lot that first year. And so we got married summer of 2016 after my junior year of college. About a week after we got back from our honeymoon, I started student teaching. And so that's what I did that whole school year. So it was not a full-time job. It was a negative income job because I'm paying money to do somebody else's job for them while they sit there and watch me teach.
Which all teachers go through that.
Yes.
But
Yeah. So I think it felt like I had a full-time job, but I wasn't making any money.
Yeah. No, your schedule
and I wasn't paying for school. The military was paying for my school, so that helped.
Your schedule was generally full-time job type schedule besides your night class that I had to pick you up from, and my car heater was broken. You remember that?
Yeah, it was some cold drives.
I think I had my hood on, like, from my coat and was, like, zipped up.
We eventually got it fixed.
Very cold.
It was a coolant leak. Yes. But I remember that. Yeah. But I did a lot of things to try to make extra money while I was in full-time school. I mean, I had my military job. I did that 1 weekend a month. Yeah. So that was some money.
Well, I think you got like a stipend towards school stuff.
A little bit, yep. So that helped
a little.
And then I also tried to sub. So that was a cool thing I did where while I was student teaching, I got my sub license. So when the teacher I was teaching with was gone or sick or something, I could be in the room by myself and make money that day. Yeah. And so I did that, and I had a few opportunities to do that for some of the teachers that I had student taught for. And so I was trying, and then you had a couple of part-time jobs. You were coaching volleyball, I think. Volleyball. You were working at a boutique. But really, we tried not to spend any money.
Yeah.
We had a little
we were
apartment.
Following, like, the Dave Ramsey envelope system, and we had, like, I don't know, clothing envelopes and like entertainment envelopes, which we probably spent all of that. And like to this day, we don't even give ourselves that much.
We're like, oh, well, it's in the envelope, so let's spend it. And they're like, wait a minute, we don't need clothes this month. So we learned a lot about budgeting that month and that year. And I love that time though, where we were so frugal and we can look back on that now and be like, if there's, we need to do that again, we can do it.
7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. 8,
so things were obviously a little cheaper.
Yeah,
but
I remember we paid $807 a month for rent. Yeah. In our apartment.
That was like the cheapest we could find in like a decent-ish area.
Yeah. And we made it work for a year. I graduated, got my first teaching job. We upgraded to a nicer apartment that was $1,050 a month.
Yeah, and we thought that was a lot.
But it was half of my teaching paycheck.
Yes,
I think I was making about $2,000 a month. But we also
thought we were loaded because we had like a consistent full-time income all of a sudden.
Yeah, but is that right? I think I was making about $2,000 a month teaching, and our rent was $1,000.
Was it only $2,000 that you're making?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that year, so that was year 2 of marriage, and we that was when we started doing youth ministry together. Through a weird connection, I remember, but we had an opportunity to do it kind of in the district that I was teaching. Yeah. So we were kind of trying to pour into that community a little bit. I think we were going to church up there too in that community.
Yes, we were. It was kind of a fun little
north of the Springs. Yeah. And so that was really cool. I think we had both always done things with kids, but you were coaching like middle school volleyball. I had always coached and worked at like summer camps and stuff, but it was the first time we got to do it together.
Yeah.
And so I got to see like how good at youth ministry you were. And it was really cool. And you were stretched. I think in some ways you spoke a couple of times,
Yes.
gave a talk.
Yes.
Before I even did, they asked you
Yes.
first. And then, but just you walked through some.
You were in a different phase. You were working full time versus I had some odd things going on. And
you
so
were able to be more
I was a
all
little more
in than
hands
I
on.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you did such a good job with some of those girls, and you walked through some really challenging things with a couple of girls.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, we only did a year for a
Yeah.
couple of reasons. I think one, it was pretty hard on you
Yeah.
in a couple of different ways. And two, you got pregnant.
Yep. Miles.
Yep. So we did about a year of that serving together. But what's also really cool about it is now that we do full-time youth ministry, I think about that experience a lot. And there's a lot
Yeah.
that we've learned.
And how we felt as volunteers.
Yeah, how we felt as volunteers in a youth ministry. And so now we lead a team of volunteers. And so we get to use that to kind of shape.
Yeah, we try to take care of them.
Take care of them, support
Not that
them.
we
and
weren't taking
see
care
how
of,
they're
just,
doing.
yeah.
But there were some really challenging things you walked through with a
Yeah.
couple girls that even our leadership didn't know how to handle. And so this was a great experience. Looking back, I'm glad we had that experience. And so then we were pregnant. We bought a house because we were like,
And a dog.
we don't want to be in a one-bedroom apartment with a baby, so we should try to buy a house. And so I remember sitting down with our realtor, who was the same guy who told us to stop being stupid and get married.
True.
And he was our realtor, a guy we knew from high school. And he was like, hey, guys, the market's really hot. It's hard to buy a house. You don't have a lot of money.
Yeah,
So
we don't really have any money.
Stuck in, this price range, and this is the price range where everybody's trying to buy a house,
Yeah.
And so he was like, hey, it's going to be frustrating. It'll take a couple of months. We'll put in at least 12 offers. You're going to get rejected a ton. But the Lord was on it, and we looked at houses one weekend.
Yeah. We put in 2 offers. Ended up getting both of them.
Got both of them.
Got to choose, kind of.
Got to pick.
But
and
then, the timing was crazy with that too.
Timing was crazy because we had, with my military using the VA loan, we had to wait. I had to be in for 6 years, and we weren't quite there yet. So we were by the time we closed, but it was tight. And so government paperwork doesn't always move quickly.
Even the VA appraisal came back way too low.
Oh, yeah.
Way too low. And I remember going for a walk with our dog and stressing about that.
I thought we were going to lose the house.
Because
I thought the offer was going to fall through.
The VA appraiser came back $30,000 under what we offered, and there were no houses even available for that price.
Our mortgage guy, who's a friend of ours, who you babysat for their kids, he did our mortgage, and they called the VA.
Yeah, he was like, they don't usually.
And he
budge.
called us, and he's like, this is literally, and he's been doing mortgages forever, and he's like, this has never happened before.
Yeah.
But we called and argued it, and they changed the number for you.
Yeah.
And he says it's the first time he's ever seen that.
Yeah.
And so it was just such a cool God thing that obviously that's the house he wanted us in.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a huge blessing for us down the road, just owning a house.
Even though
we were
it was such a stretch, I feel like at the time, it
was a stretch.
Your teaching income didn't even.
It was a stretch, and that's what I tell people. It's like, man, it's a sacrifice to put up the money, buy a house, but when you do it, it'll end up blessing you in the long run way more than
especially in this market.
Renting does.
Don't hold us to that, but yeah, I think so.
Just owning something, yeah. And so we were
able to walk away from our house.
I think we were 24 and 22 at the time, and so because we had been 2 years, so we were 20. We didn't say that we were 22 and 20 when we got married.
Yeah.
24 and 22 when we bought a house, and then our oldest, Miles, was born a couple months later, and got deployed that summer for a little bit with the military. So you were in our new house by yourself, very pregnant, trying to do projects and stuff with our dog.
Well, to go back to that, I just feel like the entire 3 years that we lived there, until the last little bit when you switched careers, which spoiler alert, but we literally didn't cover our bills each month. Yeah. But we figured it out. I feel like God really took care of us in that nothing went wrong with our house. Literally nothing.
That's true.
No repairs, no anything.
The only repairs we needed happened when we sold the house and we had money to cover it because we were selling the house. Yeah.
So anyway, I feel but we were able to walk away with a really good amount of equity that we would have never, ever had otherwise in that season. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just cool things. And it all circles back to like you saying I was frustrated that you joined the military, but it was because of that decision that we were able to be in a house.
Well, we wouldn't have bought a house then because we had no money to put down at all.
Yep. So then Miles was born. So I think we were in the house for maybe 3 or 4 months, and then Miles was born in September of 2018.
Yep.
And that changed everything.
Yeah. Yes.
Probably the hardest year of our marriage to date.
They always say like the first year is the hardest. I feel like our first year was super easy. Second year was a little harder just in that you were teaching, I guess, full time at that point. And I remember you bringing your
grading
work home all the time. And I remember getting to a point where I think I said to you, like, this isn't going to work. Like you every night bringing your grading home and doing grading from the moment you get home till
after wrestling practice.
You go to bed. It's not going to work. And then it got better after that.
But then year 3 with a baby was tough.
It was a little
Why
little
do you think
rocky.
it was tough?
I think like I expected it to be an easy transition. Just with, I don't know, I don't think babies are hard necessarily. I feel like I've been around babies enough to
did a ton of babysitting.
Know what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't really remember having fears of like becoming a mom or like taking care of a baby. I don't. Yeah. But it was just like very unexpected. I just feel like we were hit with like I don't know, overnight, just like your entire life flips upside down, and not necessarily in a bad way, but just it's completely different within a matter of a couple hours. And
and I think we just, like we talked about, we were on the same page, knew we wanted kids, we were really excited for it, felt like we were ready, and the birth was a little bit rough.
A little rough,
which maybe played into a little bit just with recovery, but then everything's different.
Yeah, it felt like way harder to do
and
the things I love to do.
I think it took us a year, but I learned like how to support you. Yeah. And at first, I didn't know how to support you.
Sure.
And I thought I was crushing it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
Well, I remember just feeling like resentful of you when I would wake up a million times a night and like you're just sleeping.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I was in this like really negative, like pessimistic, like headspace during that season where.
Which post?
Yeah, like I just remember being just irritated at you all the time, even though I feel like you were always doing things for us. But
that was part of the problem, and I was like, I thought I was being the best husband by doing the dishes and the laundry and taking care of everything.
Yeah.
And I come to you and be like, I did everything, and you were like, I don't care, just sit down next to me.
I don't care if the dishwasher's loaded.
I remember so clearly you were saying like, just hang out with me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the best way to support you. I thought, I'll just take care of everything so she can sit with baby. But what you really needed was like me to spend time with you.
Yeah.
And ask you how you're doing. And
yes.
So it took us some time to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so I think that first year with Miles was rough. Not because of him. No,
I feel like he was actually really easygoing.
Yeah, Lord bless us. He was healthy.
Yeah.
He wasn't a really difficult child or anything. But we were just figuring out, I think, how to support each other, how to transition to having a kid.
And also I just felt angry. To be totally honest,
and
I just felt
was
super angry. I feel like part of
it
was just, like replenishing my body after something like that, and I had no idea how to do that or that I even needed to.
Yeah.
But also,
and I think finally it got to the point where we just had a conversation, like admitting that, hey, this is kind of hard.
Yeah, and I remember immediately feeling like, wow, I feel a lot better.
Yeah, and once we got, because it was kind of a year of some tension. It wasn't a terrible year, but it was challenging for us, and finally I think we were both like, hey, this was hard, and it kind of rocked our world, and we didn't realize it. And once we said all that, I think we were able to.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us too, specifically, I feel like our relationship has always felt super easy, where like we don't really fight a lot. I mean, maybe have disagreements, but like, I don't know, we get along pretty well, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. But it was like a year of like feeling like we butt heads in every regard, and it was like, what is going on? Yeah. But after that, everything I feel like smoothed out a lot. And
so we definitely needed some time before we started talking about kid number 2.
Yeah.
So we have
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Birth. I didn't want to have to do that again.
Birth we both had bad memories of birth, and
I feel like again, you more so than me for a while, until I thought about doing it again. Then I feel like I was more anxious.
We have a 3-year gap between our oldest and our second, and they're born just a week apart, 3 years and a week apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that was cool because I remember being pregnant with our second, and excited, but I think as we got close, and I just remember praying so hard that whole pregnancy, and we prayed a lot together during that pregnancy about that birth, because I think we both had anxieties about it.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about like going back and thinking through that season and like writing down all the things we prayed about, because like every single thing we were like, oh, in that one, and that one, and that one.
Yeah, and the
everything
Lord
was
really
taken
prepared
care
us for it in a lot of ways. You didn't realize, like he led us towards, we finally, that year of marriage, coming out of the really hard year of marriage, we got really plugged in our church, had a great community. Yeah. We were in a small group.
Right, which is something we hadn't had.
We were in a small group with a bunch of couples our age who had kids. Yeah. Was so helpful. And so we're praying about the birth. They're praying about the birth. Yeah. And then that day, I guess he was born the next day, but the night that you went into labor, we were actually at small group while you were in labor. Yeah. And which was a perfect place to be. Now, because we were anxious about it, and we were, and so we didn't really tell anybody, like, hey, she's in labor. Yeah. But some people figured it out.
I think it started right before we left, but that, right before
And so we were there, and we're thinking, because you don't know for sure if it's false labor, if it's actually labor, and so, but we kind of knew that, hey, this is probably gonna happen tonight. And then some really good friends of ours, she was training at the time to be a doula, which is a birth helper. Yeah. Right? Yes. Is that what you call it? Sure. And so she was like logging hours. And so that night we decided, hey, you want to come and you can observe the birth and log hours, but also just like, will you just sit in the corner and pray for us? Yeah. And I remember asking her to, and she decided to. I mean, she was up the whole night. Came over at what, like came over 2 to our house probably. After midnight came over. But she knew it was coming because, but. Yeah, she may have slept a little bit and then came over and then went with us to the birth center where he was born, and she just sat in the room and prayed the whole time. And it was just such a peace of mind for me knowing, like, and for you too, right, that she was there praying for us. And it was just really cool. Like, that still just means so much to me that she did that. And because there was just, we were really anxious about it. But the Lord was so good, and it was no complications. It was a great birth. Yeah, really smooth. We call them like redemptive births.
A lot of people say that's like the second birth is like redemptive. Like the first is most of the time very long and difficult. Yeah. And the second is a lot of times much, much faster and smoother, which was the case, thankfully. Yeah. So praise the Lord. It went really well. And then we had 2 kids, 2 boys in 3 years. So our oldest was 3, and then we had a newborn, and I'd say good transition. The main thing I remember is that our 3-year-old was constantly smothering. Too much affection, maybe?
Too much affection. Yeah.
I think that's his love language. A lot of kisses. Yes.
A lot of open mouth, slobbery, drool on the baby's face kisses. And I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, and so kissing. I did not like that at all.
You've come a long way.
Yeah. More tolerant. Yes. But it's good. It's a good problem to have. You're like, oh, your 3-year-old loves your baby. It's cool. As long as he doesn't smush him.
I feel like that was the hardest thing though in that season.
No, I think we really parents often talk about the transitions, right? Like, 0 kids to 1 kid, 1 kid to 2 kids, 2 kids, 3 kids. And every parent you ask will have an opinion on which one was the hardest. Yeah. And they'll try to say, oh, this is the hardest transition. Yeah, but it's definitely different for everybody. Yeah. I think for us so far, we have 3 kids now. I think so. We've had 3 transitions. Definitely the hardest was 0 to 1.
Yeah. Which some people, their 0 to 1 is like a dream, and then 1 to 2 might be harder, but their kids might be closer together. So I think there's a lot of factors, but in our case, it was like 0 to 1 just was crazy and super hard.
And so 1 to 2 wasn't
And 1 to 2 is like a dream. I remember thinking I could have like 12 more babies like this.
Oof. I didn't think
at
that.
the time. I would never. That's not my goal. Yeah,
but I liked having 2 kids for sure, and it was fun.
I remember just enjoying the newborn phase a lot.
And so I think because of that, we needed less time before we were ready to have our 3rd. We had 2 kids, decided to have a 3rd, and found out that we were having a boy.
Yep, again.
A 3rd boy, and our oldest was, even before you were pregnant with our 3rd, was praying really hard for a sister. Yeah. And then when we told him you were pregnant, definitely he said I'm praying for a sister. Yeah. He really wanted a sister. I wanted him to have a sister just so like his faith would increase. Like, look, buddy,
I know. I said that too.
And then no, we had a boy. So we found out we were having a boy. I remember we were all sitting in the car, and we told him that we were having a third boy. We all found out together.
Yeah.
And we
did like the sneak peek test, which
he started crying.
Yeah. He told me the other day, how did he say it? He was like, remember that one time when Adler and I could not come into the kitchen because you were finding out what baby we were having? Oh,
because you were doing the blood test? Because I did
like the sneak peek blood
Yeah,
test.
because you can do this cool thing now, or as early as 6 weeks.
6 weeks, I think.
You can find out what you're having by testing your blood.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because
there's a whole process. I feel like it takes forever.
But this is amazing. God's design is amazing. Like when you're pregnant, your DNA in your bloodstream is mixed with the baby's DNA. Yeah. And so they test your blood, and since you're a woman, they're just looking for male DNA. Right. And if they find it, you're having a boy. If they don't find it, you're having a girl. So part of that, though, is you have to be so careful when you're drawing your blood, because our house is full of boy DNA. Yes. Yeah. But it's like any boy DNA would contaminate it. So they all had to leave the kitchen, like scrub the table down, you have to like scrub everything on your, like scrub your arm for like 30 seconds until it's like raw. Yeah, Miles, Adler, and I are like watching you from the couch, and you don't love blood and needles, and so you're having to prick yourself. Yeah. That's funny that he remembers that. But yeah, so found out we're having a boy. He cried. You said, "Oh my." Something like that, yeah. When you realized that you're having a third boy. Yeah, but it's good now. I didn't know what to expect. I just thought, like, there's no way you have 3 boys in a row, right? That's just apparently what I thought. There is a way. So I just kind of had different expectations, but obviously it's a boy. You have 2 older brothers, and so you were the third in your family. Yeah, I thought maybe we'd repeat that. Yeah. But I have 3 brothers and now 3 boys, 3 sons. So it's just kind of a pattern in my life. And what would you say about the transition from 2 to 3? I agree again, what am I trying to say? That it's similar. It was similar to 1 to 2. Yeah. It was just like way easier. It's definitely different. I do feel outnumbered. It's definitely different. Sure. No, it's definitely chaotic. Like it's not peaceful. That's not a word I would use. Like for our home. Ever. Yeah. Sometimes. Maybe during nap time for like 10 minutes. But I think it was really smooth. I feel like you being home so much though, and then like holidays and all that, my mental space was like great the whole time. Yeah. So that was super helpful. I think you don't know what you don't know. So the first one was like, really hey, hard. Postpartum, we got to make sure that you're eating the right stuff, and that I'm supporting you, and that we're helping. And I've learned at this point how to support you in postpartum. You know. Right. And I was able to be home a lot because he was born right before all the holidays and stuff. I feel like you were home on and off for like 2 months, which was super helpful. If you would have gone back to work like 5 days after he was born, it probably would have been a different story. Which is what I did the first time. That probably didn't help the whole situation either. But yeah. So you learn. And so, I think we love having 3 kids, and we have 3 boys, and our house is very loud and messy and things break daily. And, but you just got to learn to kind of embrace it and the chaos, and it's fun. And we're working on it. Yeah. I don't know. I can't imagine any other way. So working on letting go. Allowing. It's okay when things break. It's okay when there's a mess. It's okay when they break. It's okay when they climb things. Well, and you're trying not to control, you're a talented interior designer who has a beautiful home. Well, thank you. That boys destroy. Well, that's why I buy all my things from the thrift store. I would do that anyway, but yes, true. Hurts less when it breaks. Yeah, it does, because it will break. So that's the quick version, long version, I don't know, of how we went from eating cowtails in high school to being outnumbered by boys. Which, if you count you, it's 4. So. Very outnumbered for me. We have chickens, and they're all girls, and there's 8 of them. No. So technically, that doesn't count. No, it doesn't count. Technically, we're outnumbered. To close, I think it's so cool to just see, we pointed out God's fingerprints all over our journey, and leading us here in so many times where we shouldn't have made it. We shouldn't have had enough money. We shouldn't have been surviving, and he provided. And we'll talk more about that a lot on this podcast. So, next episode, I think we'll get more into details of where we are right now and what life is like with 3 boys, and we'll talk more about that, and also where we are with our careers. We both work and navigate what that looks like, and 3 kids, and you're home the majority of the time, but also have a career. So, we'll talk more about that next episode. But thanks for watching Outnumbered with Joey and Alleigh, and we'll talk to you next time.